Welcome to another episode of Preparing for the Unexpected. I'm your host, Alex Fullick, and as always, we like to talk about things related to disaster recovery, business continuity, COVID, well being, crisis management, resilience, anything that's relatable to those topics. Speaking of topics, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please feel free, reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am the only Alex Fullick there, so I'm really easy to find. Just send me a note what you'd like to talk about and make sure it's relatable to these subjects. And I'll get back to you and we'll see about getting you on the show. A couple of quick announcements. I will be speaking at three conferences in the fall here in 2021. The first is October 4th to 6th in Minneapolis, the Continuity Insights Conference. The second is November 3rd and 4th, BCI World Virtual. And December 1st and 2nd, the Continuity and Resilience Today Conference in Toronto. Hopefully travel restrictions are lifted and I can attend the ones that I can in person. Today, you'll notice I'm the only one on the screen, so that means I'm the only person here today because I wanted to talk about something that's been frustrating me a little bit lately, listening to reporters and politicians, not so much reporters, they're just reporting what other people are saying, but politicians and business leaders, and the current challenges with filling current job vacancies that are out there and the reasons why. There are these challenges in place. There's a lot of talk that people are lazy, and that's just not the case. I think people are very short-sighted and maybe not really paying attention to what's going on in the world and people's feelings. So I wanted to give some thoughts on that. I had a whole bunch of thoughts that I wrote down, so you may see a paper flipping around here, just so I don't forget any. So let's go through my list, and then I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Maybe the challenges that you're encountering filling a role, or a reason why you don't want to go back to the office to start with, or a reason you can't apply for a specific position. Leave a message, either send it to me on LinkedIn or leave a comment underneath. I'd be really interested to know what your viewpoints are. So my first one, people not able to go back to the work or the office place because some have moved to other job areas. Right now, it is the beginning of July 2021, and there's been reports that gas stations are running out of fuel because there aren't enough truck drivers to drive the tankers to the stations, for shipping. Well, so they're complaining that why can't we get truck drivers? Well, part of the reason is those truck drivers that were driving gas tanker trucks, those big, huge things on the highways, they went to work for other areas because the demand for gas was down in 2021 and for the most part, a big chunk of 2021 so far. They went to work for Amazon, FedEx, UPS, and many other couriers so that they kept their job because they didn't have any work when they were working for some of these gas companies. So they've moved to other areas now. They may still be doing the same job, but with different people. So now there's the complaint, that these people aren't coming back to their jobs. Well, many of them have already kept their job, but at a different place, and they're not delivering gas. During COVID, we've had two years, two graduating classes of universities, colleges, and high school. Some of those people now have moved on to find other jobs because many of them would have taken jobs in the restaurant fields, some of the lower paying service industry jobs. Now they've moved on. So they're not going to be going back to becoming a waiter, a server, a short order cook, or answering telephones, or whatever the case may be. There's all kinds of roles here. They're not going to go back because they've graduated and now they're looking for a job somewhere else in their field of choice. There's also the issue that for university towns, and I live in a university city, there's a big university here, the University of Guelph. A lot of the restaurants and service industries here that rely on those students were not here. They're not here. We get thousands and thousands of students that move into the city. There's actually a day in early September where many streets get closed down just so students can move their stuff in. They aren't here. And they are the people who used to work in these service industries. And now the restaurants are complaining, we can't find anybody. Well, of course not, because a lot of the people who would have been doing that role don't even live in your city right now, even on a temporary basis. They're not there. That's 2 classes, 2 years where that has happened and people have moved on. High school people, they may have never had a job before now. It's been 2 years. They may be going into college or university now. So they can't, or if they can get a job in some of these service industries to help pay tuitions, they may be back in their own cities doing that, or a different city altogether. That's one of the other things. A lot of these students now have taken their work online. They're now studying online, so they're not traveling to other cities to work anymore. They're with mom and dad, or some other family member. So they're not going to these part-time jobs anymore. So they're just not there. They haven't gone to these cities and restaurants and service industries that depend on these students coming to their city. They're not there anymore. And what we have here in Guelph, we don't have the population or the availability of current students to fill those job vacancies. They're just not here. A lot of people don't want to go back or apply for some of these roles because they're completely unaware of what the precautions are at some of these facilities. What precautions are in place? Do they need to be vaccinated? If the new hire, let's say it's me, is vaccinated, do I know, are you going to give me some confirmation that the people I'm working with are vaccinated? That if I have to go on site, I know that everything is cleaned. As soon as I walk in the door, reception or security or whoever is there, they've been vaccinated, that I'm not going to come in contact with all these people. There's all that uncertainty. And right now with the Delta variant taking off, who knows? Offices could be closed a lot longer than people think. So people don't want to apply if they're not going to get that information. I have asked about that information and I get, for the most part, wishy-washy answers. Oh, we have precautions in place. Really? What kind? Well, we make sure cleaning is done. Well, what about people? What about the coffee room, the break room? How are your desks set up? Am I sitting, at a round table with a bunch of people? Am I sitting in a meeting room? Am I isolated? Am I in those old style 1970s cubicles with the big padded walls, that are about 5 feet high? Am I locked inside one of those? Or I don't get an answer. So if organizations are going to provide that information, a lot of people aren't going to want to go there because they don't know. There's too much risk and too much uncertainty as to what's going to be happening. There's also, I've noticed a really odd thing happening lately, that there seems to be, and I don't know if it's a cost-saving measure or what the case may be, but a combination of roles. One, I mentioned it when I was talking with Cheyenne Marling a few months ago, that I've noticed some of the positions for business continuity has been folded into some other roles that normally are industry specific on their own. The one, and this is the example that really stood out for me, which I thought was rather odd. Business continuity certified to be an executive assistant. Now, executive assistants have a lot of fantastic skills. I've seen them do things with documents and presentations, and organizational skills with managing schedules all over the place, just phenomenal for the most part. Not one of them has even remotely taken any training in business continuity management. Yet this was looking for certified BCM people to fill an executive assistant's role. I thought that rather odd. Where are you going to find that? And I don't know if they ever did, because I saw that posting available for a long, long time. And I'm sure they probably made some adjustments to what the position they were trying to fill. Another challenge that people have and they're not applying is they may want to go back to work. whether it be at home or an office. They may have the receive the confirmations that everything's okay, but yet they still have children to look after at home. A lot of children stayed home because of schools being closed of any age, kindergarten, grade 12, college, university. They have to stay home and look after them and care for them and make sure that they get to get some of their attention, because younger kids especially don't know what's going on. They're having difficulty adjusting to being at home. Sure, it might be nice to be with mom and dad all day, but I'm sure they want to be with friends too, and that wasn't happening. But they still have to look after their children, because they're home. They got to get breakfast. Now they have to look at lunch when they may have packed a lunch and gone to school. Well, now they've got to make lunch for them. Stop work, go for lunch, and dinner. Now that and when the child finishes school, now they want to come visit mom and dad who might be working, or trying to find a role. And it's very different now. And there's also a lot of people who took their elderly aunts, uncles, parents, grandparents, whoever it may be, out of long-term care facilities and now are living with them because of the uncertainties, because of the challenges that long-term care homes and facilities were having managing the COVID situation, especially in the early stages. Now people have that to worry about, and they're taking care of these people, which they didn't before. So they can't apply for jobs, or they don't want to apply for jobs because they don't know who is going to take care of their parents. And the reason they have that care is because some people who had those jobs before are no longer around to do them. Now they have to, instead of having them in a home, they're now staying in their own house, and they can't find babysitters. They can't find dog walkers, because dog walkers, all these small businesses went under. They're not in existence right now. Not everywhere, but in some places there are. I know here in Guelph, there are some that aren't in operation anymore. So people can't leave or go anywhere to work because they don't have anyone to fill the gap when they're gone. And organizations don't seem to click into this. And it's everybody. It could be the president of a company, a vice president, director, manager, team leader, the newest employee that walks in the door, a cook, anyone. They may want to work but can't because of the position they have found themselves in. And some like just being at home anyway. So I know a few people that have now either considering it or will be retiring. And one has actually retired that I do know of. They were going to retire in this year, I believe, 2021 at some time anyway. They retired a year earlier. So now there's a role that they had, and now that's become vacant, unexpectedly. But nobody is there to take that role because that's another person that's come out of the workforce. They're not going to continue working. They're taking early retirement. And I know some people now who, and I've mentioned this on the show in other shows before, that I have a neighbor with young children. He used to get up early in the morning, go to Toronto, 2 hour plus sometimes drive in, 2 hours plus drive back. At the end of the day, he's now up with his kids. He gets to have breakfast with them. He gets to have lunch with them. Now that they're out of school, because schools are now closed for the summer holidays, at least in North America and many Western European countries, he now gets to spend time with them when he didn't before. He never had that opportunity. He would come home, see them for a short time at the end of the workday. Now he gets to see them throughout the day. And he's not going to change that for anybody. And if he can't work from home, he's not going somewhere else now. He will not do it. Plain and simple. And he's not the only one. There are many people who feel that way now. That's the work-life balance. Organizations keep pushing this idea, to be a good employee, you've got to manage your work-life balance. Well, now some people really are. And organizations and leadership and politicians are pushing back. Work-life balance does not mean you can work in your home and work in the office. That's the balance. No. It means tuning out of the office, regardless of where it is. And it doesn't seem to be that organizations like that too much. One of the next ones is a lot of people just have stress from COVID. The mental health is not there. They may have, hopefully not, and I really feel for people who have lost people or friends or family due to COVID, may have experienced it themselves and just don't feel right. They don't want to go back into a situation with more stress, meeting deadlines, etc., and getting things delivered and dealing with other customers and clients who may also be stressed as well and maybe not be as friendly as they once were before. They need to take stock of where they are, and they don't want to go back and apply for these jobs because they're already stressed. They don't need the additional stress. And it could have been from financial, they could have lost their home, they've already potentially already lost a job or furloughed, lost their contract, whatever the case may be, or had a partner the same way, or both partners lost something, whether it be their job, financial, all those stresses. People aren't ready to go back to the workforce. And let's look right now with the Delta variant that is, for lack of a better term, taking off all over the place. There is great concern about the Delta variant. Yes, you may be getting your shots right now, and we're seeing progress around the world in that. There's still some areas lagging, of course, but we're seeing progress in that, which is fantastic. But now we're dealing with this variant that can take hold at any time easier than COVID on its own. So now there's a concern of variants, which may again, and I really hope not, but could shut things down, could delay reopenings or things that are reopened now going right back to closing. So there's so much uncertainty and stress. I mentioned the lower paying service industry jobs like cooks and people that answer phones, restaurant workers especially, and tourism industries. These are low paying jobs, and for many people they have to get 2 or 3 to make ends meet. Well, under stressful times they can't do that. One job won't pay the bills, which would ruin any benefits they have, because those would go away, of course, from government assistance and anything else they have. And they can find themselves, even though they're moving forward by taking a job, it's actually 2 steps back for them. So they're not going to apply until they can actually take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So they can actually be ahead of the game. And it's just crazy, that people think that these small paying, low paying jobs will now make everything right. Well, that's not going to happen now. People have reevaluated where they are and what their priorities are. And politicians and corporate leaders, especially those that demand people be on site, demand you have to come back to the office, better wake up quick. Because a lot of the things you used to talk about, work-life balance, which I just mentioned, people being first, well, now you're being called on it. And you can post all the jobs you want, but you're now being called on that work-life balance. You're now being called on people first, and now you got to prove it. You can't make the demands and put low-paying jobs on and expect people to turn around, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because remember, a lot of these people were already told they weren't essential. Now imagine how that makes people feel. A neighbor may be essential, working in the police or fire, medical services especially. And I know a few of those, and individuals in that industry, and they are burnt out beyond belief. And I know one who's probably going to be leaving the industry for good, not changing jobs, but leaving the industry for good. And I can guarantee she's not alone. In fact, she said she knows others herself. So I know, you're now being called on some of these things you've been promoting for years. So you better put up or shut up. Turning around saying that people are lazy, they're not going to apply for these jobs just because they like sitting at home doing nothing. That's a telling story of who you really are as an organization, who you are as a leader. And all that talk about people first was just lip service. You were just doing politically correct type stuff. You weren't actually taking the right actions. You didn't believe what you were saying. You weren't invested in it at all. And there's something else that's cropped up over the last couple of days that I've noticed too. Think of agri workers, people that come into our country. Here in Canada, we have a lot of migrant workers that come in to work on our farms because we don't have the people, the available people to do it. Even under the best of times, we don't have the people to do it. Well, travel restrictions are still in place for a vast majority of areas. So these migrant workers can't come in. But yet people that are here, organizations that are here are saying we should be able to fill these jobs. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't tell everyone, yeah, you have to come here, and at the same time say, oh, no, you're not allowed to come here. You're not going to get those jobs filled. And that's happening in other places in the world too. And there's also something else that worries me, and I never really wanted to get political on this show, but I guess sometimes it's going to creep in, is that the racial hostilities right now that are happening. Unfortunately, there's a lot that's happening through the US, through Canada, Europe, and other parts of the globe where specific groups are being targeted. They don't want to go out in public. All the uncertainties about COVID, they're not going to be out in public. So they're not going to apply for some of these jobs because of the uncertainty, not just with COVID, but their own personal safety. And I've seen some interviews on the news with people who are saying they don't like leaving their house because they feel as though they're going to get attacked, either physically or verbally. So organizational leaders and politicians, how can you dare say people are lazy? These are the challenges that are facing people right now. And you got to wake up. You got to deal with it. And I said it earlier, it's time to put up or shut up. If people are first, then start acting like it. Make people want to come to work. Make them feel safe, even if it's a role to work at home. You've got to take into account all these different situations. You can't use blanket statements that people are lazy. You can't say that we can't fill the jobs because the skill sets aren't there. The skill sets are there. People just aren't sure if they should apply or not, for many of the reasons I've gone through. And I'm sure there are many other reasons, lots of other reasons. Everyone's going to have their own case. Everyone's going to have their own situation. And like I said earlier, some people have gone back to school and that were let go, that were told that, you're not essential, we're furloughing you. Well, they also took online courses. So now they're trained to do something different. It's been a year and a half for many. They've taken training courses. I've taken some training courses. I have a new certification now, a certified organizational resiliency specialist. I upgraded myself. And I'm not the same person I was before COVID, and I don't think anybody's going to be. But to use the same language and the same methodology to try and recruit people, it's got to be different. You got to change. There are new challenges now. These are the new challenges. If you want to create a prosperous future for everyone, including yourselves and your organizations and your communities, then you're going to have to change as well. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this. I don't know if I've offended anybody. If I have, sorry, those are my thoughts. This is what I'm seeing on the news. This is what I'm reading in articles, hearing on webinars, and all the different media that's out there right now. But if you've got any thoughts, ideas, or challenges, or ways to deal with the situation, leave a comment. Let me know. And hopefully you like the video. And even if you don't, let me know why. But other than that, to everybody watching and listening, stay prepared, everybody. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave a message and let me know what your thoughts are. If you'd like to be a guest on the show to talk about something related to business continuity, disaster management, COVID, personal well-being, anything that's relatable to those subjects. You can reach me through my LinkedIn profile, which is in the video description. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. In the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.